You've felt it before, that quiet tension at the end of the week. The market slows down, but your mind doesn't. You tell yourself you're done for the day. You've earned rest. But even as you close the screen, something inside you stays awake. You think about your open positions. You think about what could happen overnight. You think about what might happen while you're not looking. It's strange, isn't it? How the world can be silent, and yet your thoughts can be louder than ever. This is the hidden side of trading, not the charts, not the setups, not the numbers, but the mind that tries to survive them. Because no matter how advanced your strategy is, it's useless if you can't master your own emotions. In this episode, we'll go deeper than the market. We'll explore the psychology of weekend risk, the fear of missing out, the illusion of control, and the art of sleeping peacefully in a market that never sleeps. This is Mind Over Markets, and this is where you learn to trade your own mind. You check the chart one more time before bed. The candles flicker red and green like the pulse of something alive. You tell yourself this is the last time. Just one more look, just one more confirmation before sleep. But you don't really believe it, do you? Because deep down you know you're not checking the market, but you're checking for reassurance. You're not seeking opportunity. You're seeking relief from the quiet, gnawing anxiety that whispers, what if something happens while I sleep? That's the first lesson of trading psychology no one tells you. Your mind doesn't fear losing money. It fears not knowing. Crypto doesn't close on weekends. And that sounds like freedom until you realize it also means there's never a time to rest. Traditional traders get a break, they get silence, but you live in a market that never stops breathing. It's seductive, isn't it? The idea that opportunity is always out there, one alert away, one spike away, one miracle away. But what no one tells you is that constant opportunity is constant pressure. You start to feel guilty for sleeping, ashamed for resting. You turn rest into risk. You forget that the market is supposed to work for you, not the other way around. This is the dark side of the weekend, not the volatility, but the vigilance. You think you're managing risk, but in reality, you're managing fear disguised as discipline. You call it being prepared. You tell yourself you're being responsible, alert, watchful. But if you dig deeper, what you're really saying is, I don't trust myself to stop watching. It's not the market you can't control. It's your need to control the market that controls you. Friday night. You're out with friends, but your mind keeps drifting back to the chart. You laugh, but it's hollow. Your thoughts are still with that open position, the one you promised you'd close before the weekend. Saturday morning. You wake up, reach for your phone before you even blink. The first thing you see isn't sunlight, it's the Bitcoin price. You're no longer living with the market. You're living through it. It defines your mood, your self-worth, your sense of safety. And slowly it starts to eat away at the one thing no trader can afford to lose: clarity. The human brain was never designed for a 24/7 battlefield. Our ancestors fought, fled, or rested. But traders today fight, flee, and never rest. That's why you feel tired even after sleeping. That's why your mind keeps spinning even when the screen is off. It's not addiction to trading, it's addiction to control, because every time you check that chart, you feed a small illusion that if you just monitor long enough, you can stop bad things from happening. But you can't. And the more you try, the more powerless you feel. Weekend risk isn't really about liquidity gaps or news events. It's about the illusion of safety. You think if I'm awake, I'll be ready. If I stay vigilant, I'll react fast. But vigilance is not readiness. Vigilance is exhaustion dressed as control. Every moment you spend watching, you're spending energy you won't have when the real decision comes. True risk management isn't about predicting volatility. It's about preserving clarity. You don't need more data. You need more distance. Let me tell you a truth. Few traders accept. You can't protect yourself from uncertainty. You can only build a relationship with it. And that relationship begins with trust, not in the market, but in your system, in your boundaries, and in yourself. The weekend exposes every weakness in that trust. If you feel the need to check your trades every hour, that's not a signal from the market. That's a signal from your subconscious telling you your plan isn't clear enough, or you don't believe in it yet. The irony is, markets tend to punish the anxious. When you act from fear, you move early, close too soon, hesitate too long. You confuse activity with control, and control with safety. But the safest traders are rarely the busiest. They are the calm ones, the ones who set alerts, close the screen, and walk away with peace. They understand a simple truth. Your edge isn't your entry. It's your emotional stability at the moment of uncertainty. The moment you let fear dictate your presence, you've already given away that edge. You think missing a move will hurt, but what hurts more is never being free. Every ping, every alert, every red candle isn't just information, it's an invitation to react. And each reaction pulls you further from objectivity. Soon you're not trading the chart anymore. You're trading your state of mind. That's why you feel exhausted even after doing nothing. Because mentally you've been trading every second, imagining every possible outcome, simulating every move that never happened. You've been fighting phantom battles all weekend, and the enemy isn't the market. It's your own mind. You know the feeling Sunday night. You want to rest, but your phone is right there glowing in the dark like a portal you can't resist. You open it. You check the price. Maybe nothing happened. Maybe it did. Either way, you feel a surge of something relief, frustration, or fear. That's dopamine. You're not trading crypto anymore. You're trading emotion. And here's the dangerous part. The market rewards that behavior just enough to keep you hooked. You catch one move while everyone else is asleep, and suddenly it feels worth it. You think this is what discipline looks like. This is commitment. But it's not commitment. It's captivity. Because real discipline isn't staying awake all night. It's knowing when to turn the screen off. When you can walk away from the chart and still feel at peace, you've won a battle far greater than any trade could give you. Because in that moment, you've taken back control not of the market, but of yourself. You tell yourself you're fine. You tell yourself you're in control. But control built on fear is never real. It's fragile, temporary, and exhausting. You scroll through social media. Someone posted a screenshot of a perfect weekend entry. Another one bragged about catching the bottom. You feel it, that sharp, familiar pull in your chest. That voice whispering, "See, you could have caught that too." It's not envy. It's something deeper. It's the fear of falling behind. That's how the mind traps you. It convinces you that if you rest, you'll miss something. It confuses stillness with weakness and presence with progress. But trading isn't about movement. It's about mindset. The sleepless trader doesn't lose because of the market. He loses because he doesn't trust himself enough to rest. He believes success comes from constant vigilance, from catching every move, every candle, every signal. But the truth is, success in trading and in life comes from the ability to miss things gracefully. Because every decision has an opportunity cost. Every time you choose to monitor, you sacrifice clarity, focus, and peace. You cannot see clearly when your nervous system is screaming for certainty. You cannot make rational choices when your brain is begging for relief. Here's the paradox. The more you try to avoid pain in trading, the closer you move toward it. You fear losing money, so you check too often, and in doing so, you amplify stress until every tick feels personal. You fear missing the next big move, so you overtrade, forcing setups that don't exist. In your pursuit of control, you lose the only thing you ever truly had control over: your state of mind. Sleep. It sounds simple, almost irrelevant to trading, but sleep is the foundation of emotional regulation. When you're deprived of it, your brain amplifies threats. A small dip looks catastrophic. A minor pump looks like salvation. Without rest, you become reactive, impulsive, ruled by chemicals rather than logic. You stop seeing patterns in the chart and start projecting your emotions onto it. Every wick becomes an insult. Every retrace becomes a betrayal. You are no longer analyzing data. You are interpreting your own anxiety. There's a reason great traders talk about equilibrium, not just in price but in psychology. Because your nervous system is the ultimate indicator. If your heart races every time you open the chart, you're not trading setups, you're trading survival. And survival mode is the opposite of strategic thinking. In survival mode, you don't seek opportunity, you seek safety. You'll close too soon, enter too early, chase shadows, just to stop the discomfort. You'll trade not to make money, but to quiet your mind. That's why the weekend feels so heavy. Because when the world slows down, you're forced to sit with yourself. Without the noise of constant news or candles, you start hearing what's inside, the doubts, the insecurities, the fear that maybe you don't really trust your system, so you escape back to the chart, not to learn but to avoid feeling. The screen becomes a mirror reflecting the chaos you refuse to acknowledge, and as long as you're staring at it, you don't have to face what's behind it. It's a strange thing how traders can build complex models, analyze hours of data, study probabilities and risk to reward ratios, yet never study the one variable that influences every decision they make: their own emotional state. You track indicators, but not your impulses. You analyze patterns, but not your triggers. You backtest strategies, but never your mindset. You treat psychology as a footnote when it's the very engine driving your behavior. Let's be honest. You don't stay up all night because of discipline. You stay up because of attachment. Attachment to outcomes. Attachment to validation. Attachment to the identity of being in control. That's what the weekend exposes, not your portfolio, but your dependence on it. You think the market is volatile, but what's truly unstable is your relationship with uncertainty. The healthiest traders don't escape uncertainty. They make peace with it. They understand that sleep is not neglect, it's strategy. Because clarity is the ultimate edge. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you placed a trade and then felt no urge to check it every hour? When was the last time you trusted your plan enough to close the screen and actually live your life? If you can't remember, then your biggest risk isn't your weekend exposure, it's your dependency on control. True control isn't micromanaging every tick. It's surrendering to the parts you can't influence and focusing on the parts you can. You can control your risk. You can control your position size. You can control your response. But you can't control what the market does while you're asleep, and that's okay. So how do you deal with weekend risk? You don't. You accept it, plan for it, and then detach. You set your stop loss not just to protect capital, but to protect peace of mind. You set alerts not to keep watching, but to give yourself permission to rest. Because rest is not laziness. Rest is resilience. The best traders don't win because they react faster. They win because they recover better. It's ironic, isn't it? The more you try to stay connected, the more disconnected you become from yourself, from life, from balance. The market becomes your world, and everything else becomes background noise. But trading was never meant to consume you. It was meant to serve you, to be a vehicle for growth, not a substitute for it. When you trade from fear, you seek certainty in a place that offers none. When you trade from trust, you accept uncertainty as part of the game. And that's the shift from needing control to choosing awareness. You can't control the weekend, but you can control how you face it. You can choose to obsess over every candle, or you can build a system that frees you from obsession. You can choose to stay awake scrolling through charts and alerts, believing that vigilance equals safety. Or you can choose to sleep trusting that real safety comes from inner calm, not outer control. The choice has always been yours. At some point, every trader learns that the real battle was never with the market. It was always with themselves. The charts were just the mirror. Every candle, every spike, every crash, a reflection of your inner state. When you were calm, the market looked logical. When you were anxious, it looked chaotic. The market didn't change. You did. That's why the greatest trading skill isn't analysis. It's awareness. Because without awareness, you become reactive, chasing every move, every impulse, every whisper of fear disguised as intuition. Awareness begins when you stop asking, "What is the market doing?" and start asking, "What am I feeling right now and why?" Because the truth is, your trades don't start on the chart. They start in your nervous system. The tension in your chest before pressing buy, the relief after closing a losing position, the guilt after taking profit too soon. Every emotion leaves a fingerprint on your decision making. And if you never stop to study those fingerprints, you'll keep reliving the same patterns, different trades, same emotions. You think you're reacting to price action, but you're reacting to your own emotional memory. You might think detachment means not caring, but detachment isn't indifference. It's freedom. Freedom from over-identification. Freedom from needing the trade to make you feel something. When you're detached, a loss doesn't define you. A win doesn't inflate you. You stop measuring your worth in candles and outcomes. You start seeing trading as a mirror for growth, not a scoreboard for validation. That's why rest is sacred. Because rest isn't just about energy, it's about identity recovery. Every time you walk away from the screen, you remind yourself that you exist beyond the market, that your value doesn't swing with Bitcoin, that your peace isn't tied to a chart. And in that separation, clarity is born, because distance creates perspective, and perspective creates wisdom. The irony is most traders believe detachment will make them weaker. They fear that if they stop caring so much, they'll lose their edge. But the opposite is true. When you detach, you trade with clarity, not emotion. You execute with precision, not desperation. You follow your plan, not your panic. Detachment doesn't kill ambition. It refines it. It turns noise into signal, impulses into intention. There's a quiet confidence that comes from trusting your system. It's not loud. It doesn't need constant reassurance. It's the calm, knowing that you've already done the work. You've set your parameters. You've accepted your risk. You've planned for uncertainty. Now you let the market do what it does best, be unpredictable. And you do what you do best, stay grounded. Because discipline isn't about control. It's about consistency in the face of chaos. Let's talk about control. You think control means predicting every move, but true control means knowing when not to intervene. When the urge to act arises, pause. Notice it. Feel where it lives in your body. That tension in your chest, that restlessness in your hands, that's your nervous system seeking safety. The market isn't attacking you. Your own mind is trying to protect you by acting, by fixing, by doing. But in trading, doing isn't always helping. Sometimes the most powerful action is inaction. The ability to observe without reacting, that's mastery. Every trader wants control, but few understand what it truly costs. To control the market is impossible. To control yourself, that's discipline. But to understand yourself, that's wisdom. And wisdom only appears when you stop fighting what is. So when the weekend comes and your mind starts spinning, remember this: you are not your trades. You are the awareness watching them. The market moves, you observe. The market shifts, you adapt. But you, the observer, remain still. That stillness is your greatest power. This is the paradox of trading psychology. The calmer you are, the more clearly you see. The more clearly you see, the less you need to act. And the less you act, the more effective you become. The cycle breaks not through control, but through consciousness. When you stop trying to eliminate uncertainty and start learning to live with it, everything changes. Think of uncertainty as a companion, not an enemy. It's always there, unpredictable, uncomfortable, alive. But it's also the source of every gain you've ever made. Without uncertainty, there would be no opportunity. You cannot have reward without risk, and you cannot have risk without doubt. The goal isn't to eliminate doubt. It's to learn how to function gracefully despite it, to breathe through the discomfort, to rest through the noise, to trust through the storm. So how do you build that trust? You build it in silence, not in the excitement of green candles, but in the quiet moments of reflection. You build it when you review your trades, honestly, when you journal your emotions, when you notice your patterns and say, this is where fear lives in me. You build it by practicing patience when everything inside you wants to act. That's how psychological capital grows, not through adrenaline, but through awareness. Every trader has two accounts, the one with money and the one with mental energy. The first is measured in dollars, the second in clarity. You can replenish the first by trading well, but you can only replenish the second by resting well. Most traders protect their capital, but neglect their consciousness. They monitor risk to reward ratios, but ignore the cost of emotional depletion. Your greatest drawdown will never appear on a chart. It will appear in your mind when exhaustion turns into impulsivity, and impulsivity turns into regret. So protect your peace the way you protect your portfolio. Use stop losses for your attention. Set alerts for your emotions. And when it's time to walk away completely. Because you don't need to watch every move to stay aligned with the market. You only need to stay aligned with yourself. This is where mastery begins, in the quiet confidence of letting go. The market will always move. Prices will rise and fall. Opportunities will come and go. But you, if you remain still inside, will see more clearly than those chasing every candle. Because in stillness there is awareness, and in awareness there is freedom. Freedom from needing to know, freedom from reacting to fear, freedom from the constant urge to check control and correct. That is the real edge, not in algorithms or indicators, but in your ability to remain present while the world trembles around you. When others panic, you pause. When others overtrade, you observe. When others lose sleep, you breathe deeply and rest, knowing that clarity is your greatest position. So the next time you lie in bed and feel that impulse to check the chart, remember, you're not avoiding opportunity by sleeping. You're protecting perspective. The market can wait, but your mind, your peace, cannot. Because in the end, trading psychology isn't about winning every trade. It's about winning yourself back from the chaos. And that victory is worth more than any weekend move. There's a quiet kind of strength in letting go. A strength that doesn't shout, doesn't chase, doesn't need to prove anything. It's the strength of a mind that knows itself, a mind that can sit still while the market moves, that can hold uncertainty without collapsing into fear. That's the strength of mastery, not the power to control everything, but the wisdom to know what's worth controlling. Most traders never learn this. They chase control like it's oxygen. They need to know, need to predict, need to win. But the more they try to hold on, the more they lose their balance. Control like sand slips through your fingers, the tighter you grip it. What's left in your palm isn't power, it's tension. And tension clouds perception. That's why peace feels so foreign to traders. Because peace feels like surrender. But it isn't. It's precision. When you rest, you don't give up the game. You give yourself the ability to play it well. There's something deeply human about watching a market that never sleeps. It reminds you how small you are, how limited your control really is, how unpredictable life can be. But that reminder can either break you or free you. It breaks you when you fight it, when you believe you must always be alert, always one step ahead, always ready to act. It frees you when you finally understand that awareness doesn't mean obsession. It means presence. To be aware doesn't mean to be awake all night. It means to be awake to yourself. That's why sleep and alerts isn't just a trading strategy. It's a metaphor for mental clarity. You set alerts not because you're afraid to miss something, but because you've built a system that can handle things without your supervision. You sleep not because you're careless, but because you've learned to trust the process you created. The alerts are your boundary. Sleep is your balance. That combination, structure, and surrender is what turns chaos into rhythm. You see, the market's job is to test your belief system. Every tick, every gap, every weekend move, it's all a question. Do you trust your plan? Do you trust yourself? If the answer is no, you'll feel it instantly in the restlessness, the overthinking, the need to watch. But when the answer is yes, you can finally breathe. Because you've accepted something most traders never do. That uncertainty isn't a problem to solve. It's a condition to live. Every trader talks about risk. Few talk about relationship with risk. Because that's what it really is, a relationship. You can't eliminate it. You can only learn to coexist, to understand its moods, its rhythms, its surprises, to respect it without fearing it. And that relationship deepens with awareness. The more you know your own emotional triggers, the less those triggers control you. You stop overreacting. You start observing. And observation, pure detached observation, is where real insight lives. Maybe this is what maturity in trading looks like. Not the absence of emotion, but the understanding of it. You stop trying to suppress fear. You start learning from it. You stop chasing the high of perfect timing. You start valuing the calm of consistent execution. You stop looking for certainty in the market and start creating certainty within yourself. That's emotional mastery. That's the quiet evolution of a trader who's no longer at war with his own mind. You might still wake up at night sometimes. You might still check the chart. You might still feel the pull, that small voice saying, what if I'm missing something that's okay? Awareness doesn't erase instinct. It refines it. You'll feel the impulse, but you won't obey it blindly. You'll see the fear, but you won't become it. That's what growth looks like, not perfection, but presence. The awareness that you are the one watching the fear, not the one ruled by it. Remember this. The mind seeks certainty, but the soul grows in uncertainty. And trading, if you're willing to see beyond the charts, is a spiritual practice in disguise. It teaches humility. It tests patience. It exposes attachment. It reveals truth. Because every loss humbles the ego. Every win tests the discipline. Every pause teaches surrender. The market isn't your opponent. It's your reflection. So when the weekend comes and the volatility whispers your name, let it. Let the charts move. Let the noise pass. Let the market breathe without you. Because when you can let go and truly let go, you don't lose anything important. You regain everything that matters. Peace, clarity, focus, freedom. You see, there's a point where you stop trading the market and start trading yourself. Every moment of awareness is a trade. Every breath you take instead of reacting is a profit. Every night of restful sleep is a compound gain in clarity. These are the invisible trades, the ones that don't show up on charts, but define the quality of your entire life. And those are the trades that build longevity. Because markets reward patience, but life rewards perspective. When you wake up on Sunday, don't reach for your phone first. Sit in silence for a moment. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I trading to win or am I trading to feel in control? The answer will shape your future more than any strategy ever could. Because one path leads to obsession, the other leads to mastery. And mastery isn't about predicting what happens next. It's about staying unshaken when it does. The goal was never to beat the market. The goal was to understand yourself through it, to see where your fear hides, to notice where your confidence breaks, to recognize where greed begins to whisper. Each trade, each weekend, each restless night is an opportunity to practice awareness, and awareness over time becomes wisdom. So tonight before you sleep, set your alerts. Close your positions if you must. And then close your eyes not to escape the market, but to return to yourself. Because every trader must learn to rest not when the market allows it, but when the mind needs it. Sleep is not the end of awareness. It's where awareness regenerates. And the trader who knows how to rest will always outlast the one who doesn't. The weekend will come again. The charts will move. Prices will rise and fall. And the noise will return. But now, you know something most traders don't. You've seen what lies beneath the volatility. You've met the part of yourself that fears silence more than risk. And you've learned how to let go. Because trading isn't just about numbers or news, it's about awareness. It's about learning to stay calm when everything around you demands a reaction. The real edge isn't in your entries or your alerts. It's in your ability to rest, to breathe, to wait. To know that missing a move will never hurt you as much as losing your peace. So tonight, set your alerts, close your eyes, and sleep like a trader who finally understands the market doesn't need you awake to keep moving, but you need your peace to keep evolving. This was Weekend Risk for Crypto Sleep and Alerts. You've been watching Mind Over Markets, and remember, the most profitable trade you'll ever make is peace of mind.